Hello and welcome to Sundered Doctrine, the second and final dungeon of the Final Shape Dungeon Pass. We're back in the Vow of the Disciple Rolk world, trying to figure out some truths and some not-so-truths. So let's figure it all out. First, a quick note, if you missed out on contest mode, Bungie plans on doing another contest mode weekend at some point. This is because of the PlayStation outage that went on during the original contest weekend. I'm not really going to be talking too much about the pathing between encounters, despite some things being a little trickier to decipher. Look for waterfalls, red lights, and pathways tucked in corners and in the sides of rooms in order to progress. The first encounter uses a lens mechanic where you need to light up certain symbols on the walls. Which symbols and why, we'll talk about. Team composition does not really matter here as there is no boss, but there are many subjugators that you will need to deal with. So bring some burst damage supers and some weapons that are best for killing them. If speed is more your game, an eager edge sword to navigate this area will do pretty well. First, let's talk about the layout of the area. You'll have a central room with 4 branching paths. My team split them into left 1, left 2, right 1, and right 2. Call them whatever you want. Left 1 and left 2 are connected with a small secret path, as are right 1 and right 2, so you can rotate between the rooms without needing to run all the way back. Each one of these rooms contains a wheel on the wall with a random symbol on it. On the wall in front of you where you first drop in will be 3 symbol slots, the symbols all being from Vow of the Disciple. 2 of them will be filled in, 1 will be blank, creating a sentence in the form of noun, verb, noun. At least usually anyway, I'm pretty sure almost all the time. You must create a path of light, in this case a literal light, to the missing symbol. There are 2 ways to figure out the correct symbol. Number 1 is just some context clues. If your first set of symbols is something like guardian, worship, and blank, chances are that that final symbol will be something like traveler or light. Witness, give, blank. Well, blank could be dark, it could be pyramid. However, number 2 straight up gives you the answer in the form of the truth speaker. In one of the 4 rooms in this encounter will be a grim enemy called the truth speaker. Killing it will display the symbol you need to complete this sentence. So, once you know what symbol you're looking for, you can start creating the beam of light chain. To do that, you will need lenses, which drop from subjugator enemies that periodically spawn in the 4 branching rooms. You'll also be dealing with regular enemies the whole time, along with husks in the main central room spawning non-stop. Once you defeat a subjugator, pick up the lens. The lens. There we go. You can carry 1 lens at a time. These lenses will be placed into holsters that can then be rotated to a few select positions in order to create a chain of light to shine onto the wheel of the symbol that you need. Not all light sources can go to every other light source though. I've included a map of all of the different directions and dead ends that the light beams can go to in the description of this video. Shout out to the person who made it, Kenshi. But a lot of what you'll end up doing will be a combination of trial and error, along with some context clues about where light beams can go. They can sneak in between walls, for example, and these are used somewhat frequently in runs. Most lights can be rotated, only a select few cannot. The map does look a bit daunting, but after a run or 2, you will see that it's not really that bad. Most paths can be completed with 3 lenses, with some rare 2s and 4s in there as well. You should not be needing more than 4 most of the time unless you really mess up. Shoot the darkness switch above the light to activate it. Note, if you start a light chain and then rotate one of the center lights away from that chain, the lenses in that chain will disappear and you will need to start over. However, you can place lenses in holsters and they will stay there, but they will also be removed if you shine a light on it and then remove that light. When you chain the light to the correct symbol, the game will say, "The pyramid accepts a truth," and you'll move on to the next sentence. This time you will have 2 symbols missing and need to slot them in, doing the same thing that you just did. However, you must do the missing symbols in order. If it's blank blank witch queen, and the two missing symbols are pyramid and stop, you must put in pyramid first and stop second. The second and third sets of symbols are where you're probably and definitely going to want to use the Truth Seeker enemies to tell you which symbols you need next. The difficulty in the second and third sets of symbols will generally come from making sure you are using the correct pathways of light beams. Remember, there's no time limit here, so you can mess up all you need to in order to complete this encounter. Between this and the next encounter is another series of mazes and platforming, including a secret chest. This chest is unlocked by shooting these 3 darkness things within the maze. And I'm going to be honest with you, I basically just run around this place until I find all 3 and shoot them. The second encounter technically has a lot of complexity to it, but can be completed in a way that is rather simple. Team composition should be ready for boss damage. Anarchy seems to be one of the better choices right now, especially with a bug showing damage on Shriekers being higher than it actually is. For normal mode though, this shouldn't really matter too much. I have seen Sleeper Simulant, Darcy with Snipers and Anarchy, Thunderlord with Storm's Keep Titans is a little bit ammo intense but fun and decent. Queenbreaker is one of the best weapons in the game. Whisper, I'm sure, also works fine, again, for normal mode. Damage phases have the potential to last a very long time, but you can also make them very short if you want, as we'll discuss. Well of Radiance is, unsurprisingly, another great choice here. Okay, so the goal here is to make the boss vulnerable by having them read the kill symbol on one of the 4 wheels of symbols in the arena. Let's talk about the wheels. In the section before the boss, you actually get a taste of how the wheel physically works, but not what any of it actually means. One of the 7 symbols has a glow to them. This means that this is the active symbol. To move the position of the glow to a different symbol, you deposit knowledge, which drops 1 at a time from wizards, this being the same mechanic from the intro of Vow of the Disciple. Heightened knowledge is 1, brimming is 2, overflowing is 3, with that being the most. When you deposit, the glow will move based on how many knowledge you deposit. The direction that it goes in is based on the spinning rod in the middle. If it's going clockwise, it'll go that direction, and then the other way if it's spinning the other way. To switch the direction, shoot the darkness switch on top of the wheel. To gain access to the encounter, you just need to make the 2 symbols on the doorway to the right be the glowing ones on the symbol wheels. So that's how the wheels physically work, but what do they actually do in the encounter? This is a tough one to explain, but it's pretty simple in its execution. You just gotta let me get there. In the room are technically 4 bosses, but they share a health pool, aka the Zoetic lock set. Each one is linked with one of the 4 symbol wheels in the arena. The leftmost looks at the leftmost, the right at the rightmost, you get it. When each lock looks at each wheel is represented by the meter at the top of your screen. At the very start, the left lock will look at the left wheel. At 25%, the next lock and the next wheel, and then at 50%, and then at 75%. Every 25%, wizards should spawn. This is what will fuel your knowledge stacks to manipulate the wheels as you need to. When a lock looks at a wheel, 3 things happen. Number 1, the glowing symbol on that wheel triggers an event based on what the symbol is. If the symbol is blank, aka that white circle, nothing happens, but this will only happen at the very beginning of the fight or after a damage phase. Number 2, if that lock's empty giant panel up front has an orange highlight, it will place whichever symbol is glowing on its wheel into that slot. The symbols that are placed into these panels will be what the boss does during the damage phase, or rather when all 4 panels have a symbol. Number 3, if you didn't interact with the wheel for a full cycle, it will automatically move the glow 1 space in the direction that the axle is spinning. So what are all of these events? The hive symbol indicates that 2 ogres will spawn, one on the left and one on the right. This is the most punishing event on the board, as the ogres are yellow bar, non-finishable boss targets. The brain symbol indicates that extra wizards and a knight will spawn based on which side the wheel is on. This is the second most punishing event, as the knight is not terribly tough. The commune symbol indicates that the boss's attack will turn into a set of physical objects that you can shoot down for one set of attacks. This is the third most punishing and is very easily dealt with. The stop symbol means that extra enemy spawns will stop. This is the least punishing event. Nothing happens. And the kill symbol means that the damage phase will begin. The wheel can never automatically rotate to the kill symbol. It will always skip over it. It is something that you manually must do. When you have the kill symbol get tagged by the boss, damage starts, but the panel that you place the kill symbol into matters. The sooner you place the kill symbol into a panel, or the further right it gets placed, the shorter your damage phase will be. For example, the phase lasts over a minute if you place it in the leftmost panel, but it lasts about 5 seconds if you do it in the rightmost. If you never lock in the kill symbol, then when all 4 panels have symbols, the boss is just going to attack you a bunch, but you'll never be able to actually damage the boss back. You should ideally never have this happen in a normal 3-person group, because otherwise that means you just wasted a bunch of time doing nothing, or you're very desperate for ammo or super energy or something and just wanted to farm. So how should you do this fight? The goal is to lock in the kill symbol into one of the panels, preferably the farthest left, while juggling the other wheels, so that when you lock in the kill symbol, you have the least punishing things happening to you while you deal damage to the boss. My team wanted to try 3 stops and 1 kill. Starting with the rightmost wheel, we figured out how much knowledge we would need in order to get the panel to be stop. Then we did the same thing with the next 2 panels. Now, if you don't micromanage the other wheels, you'll just have to deal with whatever pops up in the moment, but a couple of ogres here, a knight there, shouldn't really be a big deal. Keep tabs on the wheels as much as you feel you need to micromanage them. Then, when you're ready to lock in kill on the final panel or whatever panel you're going to use, you should do so and then get ready for damage. However, when kill is locked in, the boss will replace the symbols currently in the big panels with whatever the active symbol is in their respective wheel. Remember that if you don't interact with a wheel, it will automatically move itself. So if you're wondering why the front panels go from a bunch of stops that you had in to random things during your damage phase, that's why. For example, in this kill, my team had kill, stop, stop, brain going into the damage phase, but when we locked in, we had kill, stop, commune, commune, because we didn't interact with the right side wheels for a while, and they auto-rotated. You can also just speedrun your way to a damage phase by grabbing all the knowledge you can and trying to get kill activated in one cycle of the bosses looking at the locks. The problem is that you have no control over what the symbols will end up being when you do this strategy, so you might get a really easy cycle or get a really hard one. Teams have been using a long-range damage setup, but the combo of anarchy and sniping, plus maybe one Darcy user if you're feeling fancy, seems to be working for people. You should be able to 2-cycle this boss if you're going for maximum duration damage phases, assuming you're able to replenish your ammo in between. I will have some comments on this encounter in a future video, but let's go to the final boss for now. You do have one small puzzle to solve before you get there, which is an introduction to the final encounter, and there's also a secret chest here. Here's what that looks like. The final encounter is not nearly as complicated and brings back some of the mechanics from Encounter 1. Team composition will likely be similar to Encounter 2, where you will want to set up for a regular boss damage phase. However, the boss is somewhat mobile with a small crit spot, so teams have been opting for Divinity and 2 damage dealers. Queenbreaker with its new catalyst has been doing more than enough to do this boss in 2 phases thanks to the Episode 3 mod Particle Reconstruction and its buff, but will likely be still going strong into the future unless any nerfs happen. Thunderlord spam with 2 Storm's Keep Titans was also fun, but very ammo intensive. The main objective of this encounter is to light up or activate the false statement made on the symbol wheel in the middle of the room while deactivating the true statement on the wheel. This triggers the boss's shield to deplete and become vulnerable. The symbol wheel in the middle has 6 symbols on it, 3 on the left and 3 on the right. The left side makes up a statement, and the right side makes up a statement. You must figure out which is the true statement and which is false. Much like Encounter 1, this can be done either via context clues or the Truth Seeker enemy. Be advised, the Truth Seeker will indeed show the truth when killed, usually the first symbol in the sequence of 3. These are the ones that need to be turned off. Here's an example. On the right side, we have Pyramid Give Darkness, which sounds pretty true. On the left, we have Witness Drink Light. Not really as true. So the left statement needs to be glowing, while the right side needs to be not glowing. In this case, that means we need to turn on Witness and Light, aka make them glow, while we need to turn off Pyramid, aka make it not glow. So how do you change the glow state? Well, around this and 2 other rooms in the area are every possible symbol that can show up in this encounter, all protected by some nodes that can only be destroyed if you have a buff from the Scion Dread enemy. The room to the left is accessed by shooting the door with your gun, so you might want to bring something like an auto rifle to make this a lot easier. The room to the right is accessed by this block that goes up and down when you stand on it, and you escape this room via a small tunnel on the same side as the door. Both side rooms contain a subjugator that should and I think need to be killed off for you to continue. The rooms on the left and right contain noun symbols like Guardian, Light, Witness, Dark, while the center room contains all of the verbs, drink, stop, give, etc. It doesn't really matter what order you want to go in or where you want to start, you just need to hit the correct conditions. To remove the nodes blocking your access to these different light sources, you'll need Unwritten Empowerment from the Unwritten Attendant enemy. This is a buff that lasts 8 seconds that lets you shoot these nodes after killing one of the attendants. But when you destroy these nodes, threadlings will pop out, so be careful. After that, most nodes should only require 1 action to take. If something is lit up that isn't supposed to be, manipulate it so that it's off, and vice versa. There are a couple of symbol wheels that require you to move pillars out of the way. This is done by shooting the little darkness switch. Once you have the correct glows and non-glows, go up to the center wheel and activate it. This will trigger a room-wide attack where you need to either hide downstairs or behind some kind of a pillar to avoid it. The boss's shield will slowly drain, and if you did it correctly, it will drain completely. Once it's gone, you can start damage. This is a strand-themed boss, and the boss will attempt to pull you in with a pretty familiar attack. If they are successful and you get too close to the boss, their AoE stomp is damaging and will suspend you for a short time. And this stomp attack is not only during the damage phase, it's during the entire fight. You'll want to be backing up when you see this attack coming, or get out of line of sight in some way. The damage phase is safe for about 30 seconds, the duration of a Well of Radiance, but after the room gets lit on fire again, where you will again want to hide to avoid dying, the boss is still vulnerable for a brief time, so keep shooting if you can. After this, the fight repeats until the boss dies, of which this should be a pretty easy 2-phase for most teams, assuming an average fight happens. And that is your guide to Sundered Doctrine. There are some secrets within this dungeon as well that I'll be working on, although they are time-gated this time around, so my guides will either be piecemeal or come out all at once. I haven't decided yet. And we'll also talk about the exotic weapon that drops from here as well. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.